We're gonna give you the best training split for throwing, and we're gonna start right now. So initially we've got to look at if we're throwing the shot or the discus. First, if we're a shot putter, we're going to be inside of a 7-foot circle. We're going to be throwing a 4 kilo, an 8-pounder potentially if we're in middle school. If we're in the high school level and we're a female, we're going to be throwing the 4K. If we're in the collegiate level, we're still going to be throwing the 4K. If we're a dude, okay, we're going to be throwing a 12-pounder. Or if we're in Europe, we're going to be throwing a 6K. Or once we get to that collegiate level, then we're going to be throwing the 7.26K or a 16-pound shot. Okay, we need to look at, we're doing this through that lens of a 7-foot circle. So we have to focus on technique and accelerating the implement as quickly as possible. Now, for throwing the discus, this is going to be, if we're women, a 1 kilo implement inside of a 2.5 meter circle. If we're men, we're going to be throwing a 1 kilo discus if we're in middle school, or we're going to be throwing a 1.6 if we're in the high school level in the United States, or a 1.75K discus if we're in the junior level. And then once we get to that collegiate level, that's where we're going to be throwing the 2 kilo implement. We've got to look at the technique that goes into it. We have to look at accelerating the implement as quickly as possible inside of that 2.5 meter circle. And that requires a large amount of peak force, a large amount of mobility, and then on top of that, a large amount of absolute strength. So what can we do training wise to get to that level to really develop the physical structure, the individual athlete, to achieve greatness in the sport of throwing? That's where the training splits are going to come into play. Now, let's talk about this first, right off the bat. You should be training 3 to 5 days a week. And I believe most people can train 5 days a week. But we're going to start with a training split. If we're training 3 days a week, we're going to start off with a leg power day. Use things like a technical coordination movement. So that could be a power clean or a power snatch. Then we're going to get into an absolute strength movement that's going to focus on developing our leg strength. It's going to be a back squat or a front squat or a deadlift potentially, although I don't think throwers should be deadlifting. Then we're going to get into some type of accessory work specific to the movement that we're focusing on. So that's going to be reverse hyper, any type of rotational twisting exercises, any type of core work. Okay, so that day 1 is going to be a leg power day. Day 2 is going to be an upper body power day. Again, we want to focus on that technical coordination movement first, some type of push press, some type of behind the neck jerk. Then we're going to get into a bench press with some type of pull, and then we're going to have some accessory work, maybe dumbbell external rotation, maybe specific hypertrophy work around our triceps, around our shoulders, and possibly some more back work to make sure that we stay healthy as we develop that absolute strength in our upper body. And then finally, if we're only training 3 days a week, we're going to get into that third day, and that third day is going to be athlete day. Athlete day is where we want to focus on putting out a large amount of force in a short period of time as possible. So if we're further out from our peak, if we're in the fall, we can do easier plyometrics, just simple box jumps, maybe simple bounds. As we get closer to the peak point, that athlete day is going to focus more on things like hurdle hops or single leg bounds or stair jumps or even dumbbell jumps. So that 3-day split is going to look like leg power day, an upper body power day, and an athlete day. And one of the best parts about our app, Peak Strength, is that if you head to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store, you can download Peak Strength and actually select the program to be throwing specific. And when you click on that throwing specific program, you can even click on the number of days that you want to train and inform the app to develop your program based off of the equipment that you have to your disposal. That's one of the best parts about it. And Peak Strength will cater to a 3-day split, a 4-day split, or a 5-day split. Now, 4-day split. So what we want to focus on when we're training that leg power day is starting off with some type of big movement. Think about a technical coordination exercise. We want to hammer some type of big clean or a power snatch or a 2-box snatch, anything along those lines. Then we're going to get into a big squat variation typically. Okay, we want to focus on absolute strength after that technical coordination. So a back squat, a front squat, a single leg squat. Then we're going to get into some type of hypertrophy work, and this could be through accessories. So a reverse hyper or a walking lunge, Cossack squats. Those can target problem areas for a lot of throwers inside of their hips. Then we're gonna get into upper body power day. That's gonna be day 2. So upper body power day 2, we're gonna focus on some type of technical coordination, like a behind the neck jerk, a push press, a behind the neck push press, anything along these lines that then will lead into some type of incline bench or pad bench or flat bench, something to build that big time strength in the upper body. And we're gonna pair that typically with some type of antagonistic exercise, like a band pull apart. That will then lead into some type of dumbbell press. Okay, we wanna focus on that shoulder stability, that tricep strength. And we might superset that with some type of pull-up. A lot of throwers don't like to do pull-ups, but they play a major role in providing that shoulder stability. And then we'll finish out that upper body power day with some more accessories based around hypertrophic gains in the shoulders, in the upper back, and in the triceps. With the 4-day split, that day 3 will still be an athlete day, being as twitchy as possible in a short period of time. PVC pipe walks, again, hurdle hops, stair jumps, jump lunges, anything along these lines. And then that day 4, now we're in a 4-day split. That day 4 is going to be a full body impulse day. One of the things that nobody in the world of throwing has ever discussed is impulse. And impulse is the amount of force developed in a specific time frame. And when we're throwers, when we're shot putters, and when we're discus throwers, javelin throwers, hammer throwers, we have a time frame that is designated by the distance traveled in the circle. Okay, so the time frame is going to be limited. So we have to focus on force development in that restricted time. That's impulse. Okay, so when we're focusing on impulse-based training, typically we're going to see 65 to 80% of our max on specific movements, and the intention has to be to move things very, very rapidly. And what I'd like to think about is in the off season on this day 4 split, this full body impulse day might look like a 2-box power clean. So we're actually limiting the time to pull by raising the bar off the floor to 2 boxes. You can also do this from a hang. Then we can get into a single leg squat that's unbroken. And maybe we would superset this with explosive push-ups. And then we could do something like jump lunges with dumbbells and superset that with explosive pull-ups. Now we're looking at moving the body as fast as possible. And then as we would get closer to a peak point, some of these movements would be replaced with more specific exercises like side med ball throws. Okay, so that 4-day split is going to look like a leg power day, an upper body power day, an athlete day, and then a full body impulse day. Now, I believe that most of the year, throwers can be training 5 days a week. And what we would want to see on a 5-day split, that same leg power day. Okay, we gave you that example of what that leg power day is going to look like. Day 2, upper body power day. Get strong, get explosive, get a little bit bigger, get thicker. Try to look like Ryan Krauser or Joe Kovacs, big freaking fire hydrants. Day 3, athlete day. We've got to be explosive. We've got to take this mass, this structure that we've developed, and make it as twitchy as possible. Day 4, we're going to do a leg impulse day. Focus entirely on our legs. Day 5, hypertrophy day. Now, in the fall, this hypertrophy day, this might be a bro session. This might be, we're hitting higher reps. We might look at things like, all right, when we are bench pressing, we suck at the lockout. So we want to focus our hypertrophy work on our triceps. Maybe our shoulders are weak. We want to focus that hypertrophy day on our shoulders. So we take that day 5 and we'll still do a technical coordination movement first, but then we're going to do more bodybuilding work, more hypertrophy based work after that. Okay, we want to focus on weak points that we have and develop that structure as well as we can. And this is going to be paramount to long-term development. Over time, we're going to increase our muscle mass. And then based off this 5-day split with that athlete day and that impulse day, we're also going to get twitchier. Then we're going to increase our absolute strength on the front end with that leg power and that upper body power day. So follow these splits based off of what you can do. A 3-day, a 4-day, or a 5-day split. This is exactly what we do inside of our app, Peak Strength. Head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store, the Apple iOS Store, and you can pick up Peak Strength throwing specific workouts today. If you guys want help with your technical analysis, head over to throwsuniversity.com. Implement one of these training splits so that you guys can drop some bombs. Peace.